Hello, I'm Mr. Max. And after I was watching some actual play, like especially when Crispy from channel Table Runner does those review, right? And we see those actual play, and sometimes there's combat happening, and it's something that drives me mad. Is like those combat are so slow paced. This is supposed to be an action scene, and combat or chase or action scene, right? They're supposed to be high paced. They're supposed to go fast and stuff like that. But what we see is the opposite, right? The game slow down to a crawl when it would supposed to be speeding up. And so I decided to make this video about like speeding up combat, and a lot of what I'm going to talk about it can be applied to different things, right? So again, like I'm doing those live because that's what I do, but I'm going to address the chat at the end if there's any comments, because I want to keep the content fairly short. So what I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you, give you like the usual flop advice that we often hear, right? Oh, roll your damage dice and same time as your attack roll, right? You want to do that, fine. That's, like, know what you're gonna do before you're like, yeah, obviously, right? Just like, but I want to go a little further. So let's dig into it. I got some slide. So a few simple trick, right? I'm gonna explain each of those, but basically it's that simple. If you want to speed up combat, if you have one slide to look at this in this presentation, it is this. When it's your turn, when it's not your turn, shut up. When it's your turn, do something. Embrace the chaos of the battlefield and stay in character. If you can do those things, a round of combat is gonna go so much faster, right? And so, well, that's obvious. We always do like you always do those things. I would think those things would be like pretty self-evident, but from what we see in the actual play, it's clearly not. When it's not your turn, when I say shut up, right? I mean like no backseat role playing. So don't stop. Like if somebody is taking his turn, don't give them advice. Don't tell them, oh, you should move. Oh, you should do this. You should like let them play their character. Like it's not your turn. You're gonna have your turn soon if everybody shut up when it's not their turn, right? But if you're trying to advise and go on the tactical planning and like try to micromanage everybody else's character, and there's some player like that, right? In board game, they would be called like alpha gamer and stuff like that. I guess there's the same thing in the role playing hobby, but this slow down the game so much. It's not your turn. Just shut up. And that's also like, don't make jokes when it's not your turn. Don't overreact to what's happening. Like, oh, wow, what you got it? Like, just shut up. Just shut up. Let the fucking game get along, right? And when it's your turn, do something. And when I say like do something, anything, right? Just act. Like no hypothetical scenario. Like stop trying to like don't spend like minutes looking at the battle map, trying to find the best optimal option possible, and asking million of questions to the GM to know like, oh, what can I move there? Can I do this? Can I just try something? And if it doesn't work, the GM is gonna tell you. But do something. Like, don't start like making all those hypothetical about like, oh, what if I do that? What would happen then? Right? What, you want to figure it out? Fucking try it. Do something. If it doesn't work, you tried something. That's part of the game, right? So it's not your turn. Shut your mouth. It's your turn. Say where you are. Say what you do. That's what we always say, right? Just like and do something. Don't go like, oh, what about this? What if this that? Right? Just know what if. Just do something. Act. Embrace the chaos of the battlefield, right? I'm a big advocate of theater of the mind. So drop the battle map. Like when you bring the battle map, it always slow down combat because now and people say like, oh, but no, people can immediately know where they are and stuff like that. You would think so, but then they just like spend like seconds and minutes like looking at the battle map, staring at it and trying to calculate and like the perfect placement of their fireball and stuff like that, right? Just like and how they can move like their 30 step or their 30 feet to not trigger anything. Like it slow down things so much. Get rid of it. You don't need it. And because also like when I say embrace the chaos, right? You're in a fight. It's a scrum. Your character wouldn't know exactly where everybody is at every time, right? And when I said don't ask question to GM and the other one accept suboptimal turns, it links to that, right? Like even if there's no battle map, if you don't get to ask a question to the GM about precision, you have to act in character. And when I say accept suboptimal turn, sometimes your turn is just gonna be reassessing the situation. It's just gonna be like, oh, I dive for cover, and then I peek over and I count how many guards are still standing, right? And that's your turn, and that's fine. That's something that would happen in combat. You don't always have to have the best tactical turn every turn, right? Sometimes you can just take a stand back just to figure out what's happening, right? But do it in character instead of asking like 1,000 questions to GM, which slow down the game, and then trying to do the most optimal thing. And because like now you have all those factor to calculate, right? Then it's slow down the game even more. If you stay in character and you see the world through the eyes of a character, which is going to be my next point, right? But they're all mixed in, right? Then it changed the pacing quite a bit, right? And so sometimes it's okay just to, you know, take a shitty turn. And that's the thing too, I'm gonna tell you, right? If you do that, the combat's gonna feel like more tense, faster, and but also it's okay if the combats take a few more turns to go through because each turn is gonna take a minute or two to resolve instead of taking like 30 minutes to resolve, right? So what about that? Like you can take like more turns in your combat, but the overall combat is going to be faster because every turn is so much faster, and that's all going to so increase the excitement of the game because now like instead of like having player checked out check out because waiting for their turn because their turn is going to come back in half an hour, now their turn is going to come back in a few seconds, and because you embrace the chaos of the battlefield, right? And people have to figure out stuff through the action in the character, then the other player has to listen because otherwise they're not allowed to ask questions to the GM. So now they have to listen to what the other people say and do because otherwise they're gonna have to lose their turn to figure it out, right? So it's gonna keep people engaged. It's gonna keep like the combat flowing much more, and it's gonna be overall much more exciting. I guarantee it. And staying character, I talked about it because those are linked a lot, right? Just like see the world to the eyes of a character, right? So that's also something I hate with the battle map. It's like you're not seeing the world through your eyes of a character. You're seeing from up high, right? Third person, like a disembodied, like you're not on the field. You're not in the skin of your character, in the head of your character, and react to what's in front of you. Like you're in a fight. You're fighting for your life. There's somebody trying to chop your head off, right? React to that. It's emergency. You might not do the like yes, maybe it would be more optimal if you disengage from that guy and then move to go help the wizard that's like, but that's not what's happening. There's a guy in front of you trying to chop your head off, right? So react to that. Be in your character. And like I said in last there, right? Fast-paced scene should feel fast-paced, right? That's what I'm talking about. The more you the more you go for the tactical feel, the less you're gonna get the action feel, right? And you're losing something to it. If you want to do that, right, you can play like war games, stuff like that, but that's a different game. Now you're like the general from up high with an army of one guy, right? That's what basically a lot of people do. If you want a role-playing game and you want to be in your character and you want combat to be fast because you want to go back to and sometimes like people just combat feel like a slug, right? But you still need combat because you need drama, you need tension and stuff like that. Just try that. Just try those things, right? Those few rules. Don't ask questions to GM. Stay in character, right? Shut up when it's your turn, and do something when it's your turn. Cut off all the overly like tactical planning and political question, right? And there you go. Try that, and like I said, you will be able like also it's gonna solve a lot of problems like combat being too easy because of course it's almost like cheating, right? If every turn you can take like all the time you want to figure out the best possible tactical option, of course combat is gonna be easier because you're in borrowed time, right? You're in like a what's the Hermione, right, with her watch that can just stop time and then she can like just figure out stuff, right? That's not how it should be. So it's also gonna solve the problem of like combat being too easy or not challenging enough. It's gonna make combat feel more real, more tense, more exciting, and you'll be able to go through it faster. So in my mind, in my view, there's no drawback. The only drawback is if you're just like trying to be the best at D&D and just like win, and but then like you're not into role playing. You're just like you're on the wrong hobby. That's what you're trying to do, basically. So I hope this is gonna be helpful to some. This is what I had to say basically. So the content is over now. I'm just gonna go look quickly at the comments if say hello to Big Bad and Written Lies that join. Written Lies say, yeah, but if you move there, yeah, exactly. If you move there, we will flank him. Yeah, that's the backseat, like the backseat role playing that it shouldn't be, right? And if you stay in character, it's not gonna happen. Know your character capability up turn without having to study your character sheet. That's like, that's true, but that's not what I want to talk about, because like that's for me, that's obviously true, right? It's also a problem that we see people that like you say like, oh, we're on episode like 140 of this campaign, and they still have to ask question about what their character can do and all this rule works. So, but it's so basic. I know what your character can do. It's so basic that I don't even want to address that, to be honest. Yeah. Or simply react. Yeah, exactly. And battle map's a different game. Yeah. Asking question to the GM count as your turn. That should be it, right? If that's what you do, and it should be considered like as in character, that's your character is trying to figure that out, right? Oh, is the door open, or is the door very big? How wide is the door, right? You ask those kind of questions, right? It's always about door. But you ask all those questions, right? Well, that's your character like spending in the middle of combat, turning around and just trying to measure the door, like eyeball it. Okay, right. There you go. That's what you do. Asking questions to the GM lower your chance of role playing next week. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Shouldn't be tolerated. All right, guys. I'm gonna end the stream there. My goal was to make it quick and short. So because obviously people in my audience, my regular audience, know those things. I like to make those short videos sometimes so they can spread out and reach other people. So hopefully, if you think there was good advice in there, yeah, share it around. Take care, guys. See you next time.